Good evening, everybody. So, in class on Tuesday, we covered the four first principles of economics and we discussed how people face trade-offs. We talked about opportunity cost or the cost of getting something, which means that you have to give up something else. We discussed what rationality means for economists. And then we talked a little bit about how people respond to incentives. So what we're gonna do in this part of the class is that we're gonna look at the PPF yet one more time with a little bit more detail and consistency. So let's look at that, and then after we look at the PPF, we're going to discuss the other 6 principles. So the PPF here in this case, we're looking at 2 goods that can be produced, pizza and wings. Okay? If we have a given amount of resources, a given amount of technology, and we are at full employment, the maximum amount of pizza and wings that we can produce is being represented by the production possibility frontier or the production possibility curve. Okay, so if we are in any point on the curve, like points A, B, C, D, we are being efficient. So all of those points are equally optimum points. Okay? Now, let's look at how much we have in terms of opportunity costs. Okay, so if we wanted to produce fewer wings and more pizza, or in other words, if we want to produce more pizza, we're going to have to give up some wings. Okay, so if we go from point D to point C, in order to produce 20 additional units of pizza, we're going to have to give up 30 wings. So between points D and C, the opportunity cost of producing 20 units of pizza will be 30 units of wings. Okay, so the opportunity cost is how many wings I have to give up in order to produce 20 additional units of pizza. Now, if we look at the change from point C to point B, then if I want to produce another 20 additional units of pizza, the opportunity cost of producing those 20 units will be 50 units of wings. Therefore, we can see here that the same increment of pizza, meaning 20 units, will demand a higher amount of wings to be given up, right? And let's do this one more time. So moving from point B to A, where we are producing 20 additional units of pizza, and then this time we're gonna have to give up for those units of pizza, we're gonna have to give up 80 units of wings. So what we're observing here is the principle of increasing opportunity cost. Okay, so as we specialize more in one specific good, the cost, what we have to give up, will be gradually increasing. Okay? And I mentioned to you guys that the reason behind the increasing opportunity cost is a principle called the law of diminishing marginal product. So this is something we're gonna learn a little bit later in the term, and then when we learn that term and specifically what it means, we are going to come back to the PPF and talk about it again. Okay, so here what we have is the principle of increasing opportunity cost. As we specialize more in producing a specific good, the quantities of the other good that we have to give up will gradually increase. Okay, so that's the idea. All right, so that finishes our thought process regarding the PPF. Okay, and I mentioned that the PPF represents all the four first principles. It represents the fact that we are facing trade-offs. It represents the fact that the cost of getting something is whatever we give up, or the principle of opportunity cost. And it represents marginal thinking. We are always thinking, okay, those additional 20 additional units at the margin that we want to add to our production, what does that imply in the margins in terms of something else, right? So opportunity cost is a marginal thinking kind of variable. And I mentioned in class that in economics, every single agent will have marginal thinking, right? And they are all calculators of marginal benefits and marginal cost. So if you are considering to vacuum your living room, you are going to think about the marginal benefit and the marginal cost of taking different actions, right? So will you move your couch and china cabinet to vacuum underneath? You're gonna think about the marginal benefit of doing that, right? The house is gonna be additionally cleaner on the margin. But then, what is the marginal cost? Well, your china cabinet and your couch are probably very heavy, right? So you're going to compare the marginal benefit and the marginal cost, and if the marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost, you go ahead and you take that action. If the marginal cost is greater than the marginal benefit, then you will not take that action, right? So every single agent, according to this model, thinks like that. Okay. All right. Now, we talked about the different these ideas here, 1 through 4. We cover them. They are related to the first 4 principles, and then we have the next principles that are related to trade. Okay, so we'll talk about these principles in a little bit in the next portion of the class.